This is its financial history too, where money's past reveals tomorrow's truth. For most people, Rome's rise feels inevitable. The legions, the discipline, the roads that cut across continents like arteries of destiny. It's easy to imagine Rome as a superpower chosen by history itself. But history chooses no one. Empires rise not because fate favors them, but because their rivals fall. And before Rome ruled the Mediterranean, it lived in the shadow of a very different kind of superpower. A power that didn't build an empire with swords, but with ships, not with legions, but with logistics, not with conquest, but with commerce. For a brief moment, that city didn't just challenge Rome, it nearly eclipsed it. Welcome to its financial history too, where money, power, and the past collide. The real Carthage, not the footnote. We were taught to see Rome as the center of civilization, and Carthage as a side character, a wealthy port city that produced one great general and then disappeared. But that version of history misses the entire point. Long before Wall Street, long before Amsterdam, long before Venice, Carthage was the world's first great commercial empire. Its power came from trade networks, maritime dominance, financial innovation, a ruling class that behaved like the board of a multinational corporation. Founded around 814 BCE by Phoenician traders, Carthage mastered three things Rome understood far too late: the sea, commerce, and supply chains. Rome grew by conquering land. Carthage grew by controlling bottlenecks: Sicily, Sardinia, Corsica, Spain. If trade passed through it, Carthage wanted influence over it. Their double harbor, one for commerce, one for war, was a technological marvel. At its center stood an island admiralty ringed with ship sheds, allowing fleets to launch or repair at record speed. Rome, meanwhile, was still a landlocked agrarian republic. Slow, local, focused inward. As long as Rome stayed on land and Carthage ruled the sea, coexistence was possible. But the Mediterranean is not a place built for coexistence, it is built for collision. The economic war begins. The Punic War's three brutal conflicts weren't driven by hatred or ideology. They were economic. Two rising powers reached for the same prize: Sicily, the hinge of Mediterranean trade. Control Sicily and you control grain routes, maritime choke points, and the economic bloodstream of the ancient world. Carthage entered the First Punic War as the seasoned naval power. Rome entered with zero experience at sea. But Rome did something Carthage didn't expect. It adapted. It copied a Carthaginian warship, built hundreds of them, and financed everything through aggressive public borrowing and private contributions. Carthage relied on its established system. Rome reinvented its own. The two models: Rome fought with its citizens. Carthage fought with its money. Carthage's armies were multinational mercenary forces: Numidians, Iberians, Gauls, Balearic slingers. Rome's armies were citizens who fought for land, status, and the republic itself. This difference was Carthage's greatest strength and its fatal weakness. When Carthage could pay, its armies were unstoppable. When it couldn't, they revolted, literally. After losing the First Punic War, Carthage went bankrupt and plunged into the horrific mercenary war, proof that its military model collapsed the moment its cash flow stopped. The Barcids and the rise of Hannibal. Then Carthage did something remarkable. Hamilcar Barca rebuilt Carthage's fortunes not at home, but in Spain. Silver mines there became a new treasury, and the Barcid family effectively created a private empire, a corporate-style power center financing Carthage's military revival. From this world came Hannibal. People remember him for the elephants in the Alps, but his true significance lies elsewhere. Hannibal was Carthage's economic strategy turned into a human being. He commanded a multinational mercenary army funded by Spanish silver. His campaign aimed not to storm Rome, but to collapse Rome's alliances, fracture its tax system, and break its financial backbone. It was financial warfare long before economists had a word for it. Rome's greatest advantage: Hannibal crushed Rome's armies. Trebia, Trasimene, and then Cannae, one of the greatest tactical victories in military history. Any normal state would have collapsed. But Rome didn't, because Rome's strength wasn't money. It was mobilization. Rome borrowed, raised more armies, raised more taxes, even sold public land to finance the war. Rome's aristocrats personally financed the republic's survival, not because they loved war, but because they were politically and socially invested in Rome itself. Carthage's merchant elite, in contrast, refused to give Hannibal the reinforcements he needed. They treated the war like a risky business venture, not an existential threat. Rome could endure crises. Carthage tried to avoid them. And in long grinding wars, that difference is fatal. The economic death of Carthage. Rome realized the key to victory was not defeating Hannibal, it was defunding him. Scipio Africanus took the war to Spain, capturing Carthaginian assets, supply depots, and silver mines. It was an ancient version of economic sanctions. Carthage's revenues collapsed. Its alliances crumbled. Its treasury dried up. By the time Scipio marched into Africa, Carthage wasn't just losing a war, it was losing its economic operating system. Zama was the final blow, but financially, the war had ended long before the last battle. Rome imposed crushing indemnities that turned Carthage from a superpower into a restricted, dependent city-state. Yet Carthage rose again, this time through agriculture, manufacturing, and renewed trade. By the 2nd century BCE, it was prosperous once more. And that terrified Rome. Cato the Elder ended every speech with, "Carthage must be destroyed." Not because of armies, because of economics. In 146 BCE, Rome didn't just burn a city, it eliminated a competitor. The modern parallel replaced triremes with cargo ships, silver mines with rare earth minerals, mercenaries with private military contractors. The parallels to modern powers are uncomfortable. Some nations build influence through trade networks, shipping routes, and financial leverage. Others build influence through military alliances, mobilization capacity, and credit systems. Carthage represents flexible capital. Rome represents national cohesion. And history shows when financial systems collide, the side with the stronger social contract, not the bigger treasury, usually wins. The final lesson: Carthage challenged Rome with economic power. Rome responded by reinventing its own economic structure, and eventually the two systems merged in Rome's favor. Carthage lost the war, but Rome inherited its world. History doesn't repeat itself. But if you don't understand it, it has a way of crushing you just the same. If this gave you a new perspective, hit subscribe. History has the answers.